Hey everyone, so I'm here on behalf of CustomerLabs today in a very exciting WeWork. I'm at Paddle HQ and I'm here with Aleksander Bury.
Hello.
Aleksander, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, so my name is Alex. I've been running commercial operations team at Paddle for almost a year now. Before that, I've been doing like more sales ops stuff and so on. But yeah, this is where we are now.
Yeah, it's awesome. And with CustomerLabs, we're on a mission to speak to a number of marketers and individuals who are heavily involved in the data side to marketing and the stacks that consist of that within the data journey. So when you're looking at CDP and tracking the user's journey across the whole spectrum. So this is a really interesting conversation as Paddle have really experienced hyper growth as a scale up now, raising over $25 million in funding. They've gone through some massive changes, which is incredible. So I'm sure you've got a ton of interesting lessons to share. So do you remember the first change you made to your MarTech stack and why did you make that change?
Oh wow. Okay, so I think, and this is not first change to the market stack, it was more first market stack piece. So 2 years ago, I think at Paddle, we've kind of started our marketing function. And before that, for the first couple of years, we've been purely outbound driven. So this was very new to us. We kind of didn't know what we were doing, but we needed like a centralized platform that, you know, all the kind of form submissions and page views and everything comes in. So we chose HubSpot as it seemed to be the kind of the main solution on the market. That was interesting because it all sounded good when we purchased it, but then integrating it into, we were using Close at the time as a CRM. It was such a nightmare. It took us over a month and it was completely unusable. So the first experience with integrating a MarTech stack wasn't pleasant.
Yeah, that does not sound fun. It's always a pain to get those two to speak together.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
When looking at choosing a new technology for your stack, what's the most important criteria that you have in mind?
Based even on kind of the HubSpot experience from the very beginning, whenever we evaluate a new piece of software, and whether that's on marketing side or sales side, or even kind of on operations side, so something that we use ourselves, integrations are the biggest factor by far. And what I mean by integrations is not really do they have Salesforce integration, checkbox, all good. It's really whether, you know, the data model that they've employed in the application actually is able to kind of map into the data models in other applications that we're using. Whether that Salesforce integration, because most people have Salesforce integration these days, is actually, you know, kind of usable. Like, can we customize it enough to kind of work with our Salesforce instance? Because the main reason you go with Salesforce is to customize it to make it work for you. And then, you know, finally, kind of having APIs, having quite robust APIs is really, really important because, you know, we need to be able to interact with the data that certain platforms are, creating. And I could give you an example.
Sure. That would be awesome.
So we've recently purchased Intercom, and Intercom is the big guys, obviously. So the assumption is they very well integrated with everything that you might be using. So we got Intercom as this kind of website chat solution. So we're using Intercom the same way you would use Drift. We're not using Intercom as a kind of customer success or support function. So they do have Salesforce integration, but what we found out throughout the process of integration is that it's more of a facade of a Salesforce integration. You can't really do much with that. So, for example, you're only able to create leads from Intercom, and for any company that is kind of following more account-based model, that doesn't really work. You probably want to be creating contacts or creating accounts. It's not possible at all. So even the giants of the industry, such as Intercom, kind of fall short on some of this stuff. Fortunately, they have like really good set of APIs, so we can make it work for us. But if they didn't,
that would be a deal breaker.
Exactly.
So the API is so crucial to be able to determine whether you can actually do the right things, because you can't spend your life hacking together.
Yeah, exactly. Everything. And like the maintenance piece of that all is just become awful. Like,
Yeah.
it's
And
not good
the
experience.
data from that personalization aspect, you lose that when you're trying to tie that together, which is exactly why we're speaking about these lessons, because it's so valuable to be able to understand that part. So, what should marketers anticipate when scaling their marketing stack?
Yes, kind of same answer to some extent. So the way I think about it, the same applies at Paddle. Whenever we're considering adding another kind of piece of software or platform to our stack, we think very, very hard whether the same kind of functionality can be achieved with something that we own already. So we very kind of vary of going this kind of very piecemeal route, as in like we have hundreds of different tools that are just doing one specific thing. And the reason why we do that is because of what I mentioned, the integration piece, making all these different tools talk together and kind of act in a very unified and orchestrated way. It's really hard. So, kind of, you need, whenever you kind of thinking about a new tool, you need to weigh this cost of, how much is it actually going to cost me to integrate the tool in my current stack and, maintain that versus what functionality and what value and what problems I'm being able to solve with this, because, it's a very hard calculation, but like necessary one, because as you introduce a lot of tools, it's bound to break at some point in time.
I want to talk about the different channels and different formats that you're currently using at Paddle. So, what's worked best for you up until now?
So this is really interesting question, because we're actually going right now through this transition from, as I mentioned before, we kind of created our marketing function something like 2.5 years ago. And the way we approach it is the same way everyone else does, which is like pure inbound, as in like trying to get people on our website, convert with their forms, and then feed that to sales. And what we realized through that process is that it wasn't working very well for us, and maybe that's due to the product that we have. It's quite, the education piece on the product is quite big, but also we had problems around the fact that, like, because we've been outbound-driven organization for such a long time, we knew most of our target market already. So whenever someone came for inbound, they were already either contacted by our reps or like being worked on and so on. So the pure stats on inbound didn't work very well. So what we realized is that if we could use the same marketing resources to target the companies that we target themselves, then it's going to be perfect, because we're just going to augment the kind of the sales performance.
So it aids as a touch point.
Yeah, exactly. So we kind of fully now moved into kind of ABM strategy, which stands for outbound-based marketing. I don't know if you wanted me to kind of explain a bit more what was it about.
If you want to touch on just a little bit, that'd be awesome.
So ABM strategy is basically like kind of from practical point of view. Let's say as a company, you're selling to other businesses, and you know your ICP very well, and you identify 100 companies that you want to sell to. And what kind of ABM does, or the way you use ABM, is that you use multiple different channels to target them. So for a lot of organizations that are primarily outbound driven, that channel was the sales reps kind of outreaching using email or LinkedIn or whatever. But kind of ABM takes that and kind of makes you start thinking, like, how can you attach those companies, outreach to those companies using means from kind of marketing side. So what we started doing is we got lists of different kinds of companies based on ICP, and we started targeting them with specific ads that were like kind of trying to address their problems, like, and so on.
Niche.
And at the same time, we had our reps outreaching to them on email or LinkedIn, cold calling, and so on. And that kind of all works together, where there's a lot of kind of awareness going on, because they've seen us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and so on. And at the same time, kind of giving them opportunity to actually engage in conversation with us, because we have reps kind of constantly outreaching to them. So this is kind of right now our complete strategy. We're not very concerned with inbound.
That's awesome though, to see that coming into play and getting marketing and sales to intertwine to aid you to get that stage further. What are some of those technologies that you use within that function to be able to do that?
Yeah, so for sales. Salesforce is the basis of everything, and all the data goes into Salesforce. We use outreach.io to enable reps to do, kind of email sequences, incorporate LinkedIn kind of touch points, cold calling into that. From a marketing point of view, HubSpot is not being used a lot because HubSpot is not really set up for ABM.
Yeah.
But we started using a platform called Influ2, which basically allows you to import a list of people that you want to target with specific ads, create campaigns around them, and then it's going to tell you whenever that specific person interacted with that ad. So we can use that interaction point to kind of send to our reps and say like, hey, look, this specific person just clicked on this specific ad, and you know they went on this landing page. This is their kind of browsing history. Well, not browsing history, but like, this is how they engage with our website. And you know our reps can use that information to like outreach to them in the best way possible, as in, like addressing the issues they might have.
That's awesome. I think that leads really nicely into the next question. So, how far does the platform and the data unification play as a role in your personalization and your experiments, which is exactly what you just touched on almost?
So it's everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we didn't have the data on the companies that we're going after, we wouldn't be able to know which companies are we going after, like what campaigns go to who. But it's also, you know, the way I think about it, like the data we have should do one of two things. One is to kind of identify the best companies, the best fit companies that are out there for your specific company that might be experiencing problems that you're trying to solve and like, you know, benefit from the value that you're trying to deliver. But also the data points that you collect on them should inform your messaging. So, you know, the way we use different data points is the outreach that we're going to send or the campaigns that we're going to enroll people in are going to be different and addressing different pain points based on the data points that we have on them.
That's fantastic. And to aid your reps as well, so they can send the right relevant copy depending on where they've been to within the site. Yeah, that's awesome. So we're seeing a rampant adoption of CDP within lots of different SaaS companies and scale-ups at the moment and leading businesses. What do you have, and as a CDP in your stack at the moment, do you have one or are you planning to adopt one?
Yeah, so we use a platform called Hold.io.
Yeah.
And kind of on the CDP piece, you know, I've spoken about integrations before and about how the data is utilized. So that it's kind of the basis of our entire kind of strategy. We wouldn't be able to do that without a proper CDP in place because we need to be able to orchestrate all the data between different platforms that we're using, but also we need to be able to you know kind of track all the events that are happening and like all the kind of reporting around and performance of the campaigns and performance of the reps needs to feed back to the same place, so we have this unified view, kind of 360
God view,
of every single account that we engaging with and so on, and where they are and what kind of events happen on them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome to be able to see that you've managed to make everything work in unison to dictate the whole commercial function. That's really cool. And how do you see marketing teams benefiting from customer intelligence and the marketing analytics, having that in one central place? I know you've touched on that a little bit, but
again, we wouldn't be able to kind of execute on the ABM strategies the same way we're doing right now if we didn't have that central kind of data platform in place to orchestrate all those different campaigns and all those different channels. I think it's also really important that we feed back to the same platform of all the kind of events that were generated, so marketing can see what actually has been working, like to analyze specific campaigns or specific channels, as in what value do they actually bring? And typically if you're not using a kind of CDP platform, you have that data all over the place. You have that data in specific platforms that you're using to do advertising. You have your CRM, you have places like Outreach and so on, and the data lives there, but
you have to report on it.
You're not able to really interact with that data because it's all in those different places. And, you're not getting this holistic view of what actually happened on your kind of accounts and customers.
That's crazy, and then it becomes almost where you're reporting on it, but you're not actually using the real personalization factor to be able to see the journey of that user between the different ties.
Yeah, so this is something we're going to start experimenting with, which is one thing that having all the engagement and all the kind of events that happen on those accounts in place, what allows us to do is kind of determine where in the kind of customer journey that specific person or that specific account is. And this is really important because what we realize is the content that we should be serving to these people is different depending on how aware and how kind of deep into paddle they are. So what we can do is not only segment our kind of accounts based on the pain points and problems they're having, but also how far they are in the kind of customer journey. And then instead of, let's say, showing them advertising that is meant to educate them or make them aware of paddle, we're showing them advertising that is specific to kind of their current interaction and how they understand paddle.
It's amazing. You can then profile them and then enable them to help them through that flow,
exactly,
guide them through the funnel.
You're accelerating the funnel of that because it's different types of content, like educating people versus showing them capabilities of the platform and so on. Is something completely different than like being able to show that messaging at the right time as really important.
That is. And what, I guess this is a really nice question. What insights or advice would you give for marketers that are really looking to get into the world of CDP? If you could give some advice, maybe one piece of advice.
One piece of advice. Get one. There's quite a bit of tools on the market. They work differently depending on what type of company you are. So do evaluate how you kind of want to interact with your data and so on, and what kind of capabilities the platform have. And the second one is be very, very conscious around what platforms you're choosing, what kind of platforms you're adding to your sales or marketing stack, because you don't want it to be either bound by the platform if it's not working very well, or have this nightmare of an integration issue where it's not really talking well to other places, and then you have to spend engineering resources to not even take it out, but like integrate it properly so you're getting all the data and like you can actually utilize it in a good way. But CDP is the way forward, especially from the kind of ops point of view. Because otherwise you have no way unless you build the whole thing yourself to manage all the data.
That's awesome. And like you say, you had those early use cases where you couldn't get platforms to speak together. And that was a month's legwork to be able to decide that you need to move elsewhere. So what are your predictions on the role of AI and machine learning in really scaling personalized customer communication moving into 2020?
That's a great question. So I think there's a couple of specific areas that I think there's going to be a lot of development in the future. So the first one is around the prospecting bit. So what we have currently available on the market is companies that really provide you with just kind of the same data points on all the different companies they have. So you have kind of more old school people like ZoomInfo or Discover.org, or like newer kind of players like Clearbit. But really all they do is they source data, they scrape data, they put it in their platform, and they have this very standard data points like employee count, the industry, and so on, that are probably too generic for every single company using them. Like it's a good starting point, but like every company needs more specific data points to be able to kind of find out the true ICPs. So I think the next step and the utilization of the kind of ML or AI in that space is there's going to people going to create products, or there's going to be companies creating products that kind of take that data, so the same data that Clearbit or other people have, and kind of utilize it to create really ICP profiles for specific companies they're working from. So what's going to happen is that the companies can basically teach those models as in like, these are the specific companies that I want to go after. Go and find me those companies based on the specific properties that I'm looking for.
That's awesome. So literally enabling something to take it to that next level, to be able to solely provide you with the ICP based on their factors that they need to collect.
Exactly.
So what are some key metrics that you would suggest other SaaS marketers to be tracking across the customer journey, from considering things like acquisition and retention, to really understand their customers in a better light?
So I'm a big fan of funnels. I think funnels are gold for everything, like understanding how people go through all the different stages of whatever customer journey your company has. And on top of that, being very aware of the kind of the sales velocity of the velocity of those deals. Like being able to kind of ascertain what's the average deal size that you have coming through, how long does it take for them to, from them being completely unaware to becoming customers, what's the conversion rate of those people, and how many of them you have at any given time, is going to give you a really good understanding how you can start tweaking those values. So like maybe you should go after a bit more higher in value customers, so your kind of average contract value becomes larger, or maybe you should actually go after a bit smaller customers, but like the sales cycle becomes much shorter, and therefore you can generate more revenue. But I think this allows the kind of marketers or the kind of commercial leaders and everyone kind of trying to get new customers, the growth engine, to understand who are the best fit customers for them based on those stats.
Alex, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, that was great. Good chat.
Yeah, really, really good. And we hope that you're going to be able to enjoy these lessons and learnings from looking at Alex's stack within Paddle, and this will be going out on Customer Labs across all channels. So watch out for it.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers.